What was our first impression of the Batman trailer? How do we think Robert Pattinson compares to Ben Affleck? And what did we think of that insane beatdown scene? Welcome to the Fortress of Solitude podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Sergio Pereira, and I'm joined today by the person whose name is spelt like Lois Lane, but said much differently. What is up, Lois?
Hey, what's up, man? Nice to hear you.
You too, man. So, this weekend was packed. There was a lot of trailers going on, a lot of things, and from games to movies. Like DC FanDome was something else.
Yeah, no, I think the DC scene has been kind of quiet for a while, and that's pretty much all Twitter can talk about.
Yeah, man, definitely. And how many trailers did you manage to catch? Did you watch the thing live, or were you watching stuff afterwards?
No, I couldn't, honestly. I was just, the schedule was so insane. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna grab it all when it's together and it's all out there. So I managed to grab sort of the main Batman trailer, the games that came out, the Wonder Woman trailer. So I think most of it I managed to catch.
No, that's cool, man. Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's the South African time. The Batman trailer, I think, was like at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I tried to stay up. I was watching the Aquaman panel. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, no, I need to go to bed. And then suddenly, I actually woke up at about 4 a.m. because I was like, I need to watch this Batman trailer because I just knew it was coming because everybody was leaking all these still images. So I just knew there's definitely going to be footage.
Right.
But obviously the first thing we got to discuss is this movie has been in the pipeline forever. First it was Ben Affleck was supposed to be directing it, producing and acting. Then he left and then no one really knew what was going on. And Matt Reeves came on. And obviously the big thing that everybody's talking about and the thing that, it's typical with every Batman casting. Every time there's a new actor being cast in roles, they're like, oh, I hate him. Why didn't they cast this guy? Why didn't they cast that guy? But Robert Pattinson, that was a big name. And I'm curious to hear, what did you think about that? What did you think when he was first cast as Batman? Did you think it was a good casting or?
I think what surprised me most from the offset was, there's often a lot of sort of a divisive thing on the internet whenever someone new gets cast in a big role like Batman. So even Batfleck, there was a lot of ums and ahs. And with Robert Pattinson, I think I expected a wall of hate, coming from, how people received Twilight after a while. Yeah. And funny enough, I think they were they were quite optimistic because I've always been a fan of Pattinson, even since, I'm a big Potter fan and he played Cedric back in the day. And as a guilty pleasure teenager, I actually kind of enjoyed the Twilight films. Don't let it get past this podcast. But other than that, I've seen him in a bunch of other stuff, The Lighthouse, and he's really got the chops. So I was quite excited and I thought, no, definitely it's going to work out.
No, it's very interesting you point that out because that's exactly what I thought. I remember seeing him and it was an Australian movie called The Rover. It was like a 2014 movie, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And then it was also that indie movie from the, what are those two brothers? There's two indie brothers. I think the Safdie brothers, Good Time. Yes. And then also High Life was another great sci-fi movie. Cosmopolis was another great. And as you say, The Lighthouse. I remember watching that and thinking, geez, this is something else. And true. Yeah, I think, it's very interesting when it comes to the role of Batman, because I think everyone always has in their mind, some portrayal. And I remember Michael Keaton, when I was growing up, that was the Batman. And funny enough, he looks nothing like Batman. When you look at the comic books and you look at even the modern interpretations, he doesn't look like Batman, but the actor was so good that he just convinced everyone else. And you look at all the others, look at George Clooney. On paper, he's actually the best Batman of the lot. There's he's a good-looking guy. He's eligible bachelor. He on the surface is actually what Batman should be. But that movie was just it just didn't work.
He's Batman 007 of Batman.
Exactly. It just did not work. And that's the thing. So when Robert Pattinson was mentioned, I thought to myself, well, you know what? He's a good actor, and I think that's the most important thing that we need. Is a really good guy in the role, who's got the chops, can deliver the emotional depth. Because it's two roles here. He's Bruce Wayne and obviously Batman as well. Yeah. So I think especially seeing the cast that was coming out, it was just really, really interesting. Jeffrey Wright as Gordon, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, Colin Farrell as a Penguin. Paul Dano as a Riddler. That's insane.
I think the role that I'm most excited about actually is Andy Serkis as Alfred.
Yes,
that's my.
Or maybe they could just make Andy Serkis CGI and play everyone in a movie. It wouldn't be a bad idea.
Well, if you wanted to instantly win an Oscar, then yes. But I think they want to give everyone else a fair chance.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, obviously the whole Pattinson thing is, it's obviously still a bit of a debate. Everybody's like, oh, we don't want a sparkly vampire as like, the new Batman. And it just kind of shows one thing is that I think especially in the geek culture, there's a lot of people that don't actually branch out. They don't find out what's happening out there in terms of other movies, in terms of, delving into other actors and stuff. And I think it's something that, we need to move past, as the fandom. I think, we need to start giving people chances and stop looking at it as like, oh, this person is just that. Imagine if you just get known for like one role in your entire life. And I mean, with Pattinson, this was like 12 years ago, I think, Twilight 2008.
Sheesh, dude. Yeah, it's been a minute.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's something that we can move past, and I think that everyone needs to kind of just say, hey, you know what, this guy's done a whole lot of good stuff after Twilight, and yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting. It's something different, and yeah, I mean, like going straight into the trailer, I mean, I must say I was very, very impressed. I mean, I knew, I mean, Matt Reeves, I think, is a fantastic director, and I mean, I loved what he did with Planet of the Apes, and Cloverfield was another one that was just really, really good, and I was very impressed because I thought to myself, okay, he's talking about a dark Batman movie. And, this is like, obviously, a lot of directors hype up their movies before they actually do anything. I thought, okay, cool, but, is it still going to be, are they going to try to do something different? And I mean, this was dark. I mean, it was super, super dark.
Oh, it was captured, man.
Oh, man, when the Nirvana is Something in the Way just kicked in the beginning and it just blends into the Batman theme by Michael Giacchino, it was just, I was like, whoa, okay, this is insane. And, seeing one of the, was obviously what I presume is a Riddler's like crime, where, like no more lies over the person's head.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's definitely your clues from Riddler.
I was just, man, like, I must say, I didn't expect it to be this good, especially considering that only 25% of the movie has actually been filmed. That's insane.
Wait, what? I didn't know that stat.
Yeah, I mean, they started filming this in January, I think. And I think towards the end of January, early February, I'm not entirely sure, but I know it was beginning of the year. And they managed to film like most of it. Obviously, then COVID hit and they were still in London and they had to pause it. And apparently they're building sets now. Like a lot of the sets, they're trying to build it so they can actually just film the rest of the movie. Because obviously, you can't just hop around on a plane now and go to different places. So, but yeah, I mean, 25%, and this is the footage that we got from 25% of the movie. I think it's insane.
I don't
know about you.
No, that's
what did you think?
No, to be honest, that's kind of, it's crazy to think that's how showbiz works. Like you can make something out of just like, we'll put it together, and it doesn't look shoddy at all. It looks incredible. In terms of the tone, I think Batman has to be dark, man. Like even from an animation perspective, even like the original animated series, it was darker than all the rest. It was something new. And it might seem like a hot take, but to me, like Batman's universe lives like best by itself. So if I could choose, I would have it never like introduce itself to any other DC characters. So I would leave the Supermans and the Wonder Womans and everything out of it, just because like Batman seems so much more grounded and everything else is so like otherworldly and over the top and like
fantastic.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's just so weird. It's kind of like the Tony Stark, version of of Marvel. And I've always loved Batman's universe self-contained. And just looking at this as a story before it branches out, which it might we don't know at this point. I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, it's something I've actually thought about as well myself, is that the Gotham verse, as you call it, it's like, it's very dark. As you say, it's very grounded. Yes, okay, there's obviously some, super villains that have, some superpowers, but it is very grounded. It's very dark. And I've always found as well, there's just so many characters in Gotham that, you can branch off of. I mean, you got the likes of Nightwing, you got Batgirl, you got Red Hood, you got all these characters and, all these supervillains. And it's actually, I've always found the strongest Batman stories are always the ones that are like set in Gotham, that are basically about Batman. And I think, whilst I like the Justice League and I've always enjoyed, seeing the team ups, I can't honestly say there's been one Justice League story where I look at it and I say, wow, this is a really good Batman story. Like, it's always about something else. I think the stakes are very high. It's always about saving the universe, which is a big thing. And I think these ones are like smaller. It's like, more emotional sort of beats and it's just a little bit stronger, I find. Exactly. And I agree with you. Yeah.
Because it tends to overshadow. I mean, he's a detective, and like the importance of a detective when it comes to like the entire world at stake, it kind of gets overshadowed, and it's kind of sad to see that. So that's why I'm always like, oh no. And I feel the same about I think, even Spider-Man. I know we talk about DC, but I feel the same about like the Spider-Man. I think the Spider-Man and Batman have the best rogues on either side of the fence of Marvel, DC, and 100%. So I'm pretty keen.
No, I completely agree with you, and I think it's also quite cool to know that they're going to have like another series that's going to be on HBO Max, spinning off from this Batman movie about like I think it's about Gotham. So I think it's year one, I think, when Batman's starting.
Oh,
so,
sick!
Yeah, so it's kind of like Gotham PD sort of thing is going to be there, which is really cool, and I think that they've got some cool ideas going there. And I mean, I really hope they explore this universe. I mean, I know Matt Reeves has signed on for 3 movies. So he can do something really cool, but I'm hoping that we get to see stuff like Nightwing and Robin, and just really branch out a little bit, because it's a big universe, and I think it's it doesn't need to be contained in the DC universe, or tie into Justice League and everything. I mean, we already have that, and as we say, I think DC's shown that they're trying to do something a little different. They're not caring about this shared universe anymore. They're kind of saying we're a multiverse, so everything is canon. But basically, it's like, it's our own form of canon. So, we can pop up, via Flash, probably he's going to be the key to everything. Everything can be, connect with one another. But as you say, it will be cool just to see this being contained, and just to see, Pattinson's Batman on his own world. I think will be cool. And I mean, obviously, now going back to the trailer, was there anything else in the trailer? Any other points or moments that you thought to yourself, man, this is really cool?
Well, I mean, you've got Carmine Falcone, you've got the Penguin, and you've got the Riddler. That is 3 like major characters that are showing up in this movie. And I think a part of me is not worried, but I kind of like, it's one film, I don't know how long it's going to be, but there's, how much is this going to touch on each character? Because they all have so much depth and in character to delve into. So I'm wondering who's going to be the star of the show. Is it the Riddler? Is Penguin sort of a sub character in this one? I'm very interested to see where they go with it.
Yeah, I think, judging from what we saw in the trailer, I mean, if it's an indication, I mean, obviously, it's 25% film, so maybe they just filmed all the Riddler scenes first. But I think it pretty much will be the Riddler. It looks like he's the central part, and Penguin will probably play a supporting role. Which, I mean, there have been some great Batman stories like that. That the Riddler and Penguin, they've always been very closely tied together in the comics. They've always had like a very good relationship, in terms of that. Right. And I think it'll be really cool to explore. And I wouldn't expect somebody like Falcone to be like a massive sort of influence. I mean, I've also heard there's likely to be Firefly was another like character that was mentioned, and Harvey Dent as well. So what I see is more like traces of the universe. So you might see, for example, like, I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but opening scene, is Batman, stopping Firefly from burning down a building, and boom, that's it. The Firefly character's out of the way, but it's sort of to set you in the world and ground you of what's happening, what sort of universe we can expect. And then also the other thing is, I mean, those thugs that he meets, the ones that got the white face paint. I mean, I also thought, wait, is that like the Joker's goons? Because that's something you'd associate with Joker, like the face paint, something like. I was like, does that mean he exists here already? Like
kind of Arkham vibes,
yes,
a little bit, right?
And like, who is this? Like, is this? Obviously, it's a new Joker. I mean, like they've said, it's not the Joker movie that came out last year. It's going to be something new. But is that just like almost like a little Easter egg, like saying to you, "Hey, Joker exists here. We're not gonna explore it just yet, but this is Joker."
Oh man, I get so excited. I know like Joker's been done so many different times, but I just get so excited whenever there's a new one. I'm just like, how is it gonna be cracked this time? Because Joaquin Phoenix just blew our minds. Like, so I'm pretty keen to see what they do, in this universe moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's also at the same time, like, as you say that, I'm a little bit hesitant because, we kind of think about, the classic Jokers, and, obviously we start off with, I mean, for me, Jack Nicholson was the one who brought it all to life, in the original 89 movie. And then obviously you have the animated series with Mark Hamill's, obviously voicing Joker that everyone remembers. And then obviously after all those years, then you suddenly had Heath Ledger, I mean, his blockbuster performance in The Dark Knight, and that was really cool. And then obviously, Jared Leto came around in Suicide Squad. And I mean, there's a lot of hot debate about that because, I mean, look, I'd like to see the Ayer cut, the David Ayer cut of the movie, to see if he had something else, because, I do feel that there was something missing there. But obviously that wasn't very well received. And then, you jump to Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, it's an Oscar award-winning performance. I mean, I know like people on Twitter, like, trying to fight some war about it. And I mean, I don't know what the hell they're talking about half the time, but anyways, it's like that's a thing. And now you kind of think, all right, that's an Oscar award-winning performance. Now it's 2019. And okay, this movie's coming out 2021, so it means any potential sequel probably 2023, 2024. Is it a little bit, too soon for a new Joker? I mean, there's also debates that there might be another Joker sequel. I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. I wonder, or should we just leave the Joker till last? Like for the third movie?
Yeah, is that an opportunity to I think give it a break? That's exactly a good point.
I think it might be like a better idea just to spread it out a little bit and like have a fully formed Batman, facing the Joker versus having somebody very young in his career. Obviously, this is year 2, and facing off against the Joker. Maybe change it up a little bit. Have somebody that's established in the career, and this is like almost like the boss fight for him now. This is the ultimate villain, and I think that might be a better way to go versus trying to introduce him in the first movie or the second movie. Wait till the third one.
I think definitely. I mean, ultimately, when you think Batman, you think Joker. Just, I mean, the way you think like Superman, you think like that's just how it is, right? You think of it's his nemesis, number one nemesis. So yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be interesting, but I mean, time will tell. But I mean, going back to those thugs that we thought were like Joker goons. Now we need to talk about something in that trailer, that epic beatdown that he gave. I am vengeance, dude. Like that was for me. That was the scene that convinced me, because I was like, all right, cool. You know what? Like DC movies, I mean, we all know the warehouse scene from Batman versus Superman, where like, after Batfleck basically beat the crap out of those guys there. And it was one of the most epic superhero scenes that we've seen, like in terms of fights. They were like something straight out of Arkham. But just this little bit in the trailer where, I mean, he went full Cobra Kai on this guy. He strikes first, strike hard, no mercy. And I mean, and he just knocks him down, and then like the guy's down, he still smacks him 2 more times. He's like, I'm vengeance. I mean,
it's like one of those Mortal Kombat punches. You know, when you play Mortal Kombat and any one regular hit would probably murder you?
Yes.
And that's how it was. Like the first 2 knocks, I'm like, yeah, that's it. Oh, you can stop now. Okay, yeah, right. Ooh, issues. And it's like, it hit me, and I was just like, damn, like this is sick, because I think
it was amazing.
That lack of restraint shows the complexity. Like it says so much without having to say a word yet.
Exactly.
About like he's just had enough. I'm like, this dude is out to prove something, and it's so cool.
But it's also like, it's cool that you mentioned that, because I also think that it's, because it's year 2 Batman. I mean, he's still quite young in his career, and whilst Matt Reeves said that it's about a Batman that wants to make like a better city. He wants to make a better Gotham, and he's obviously trying to figure out his ways and his methods. And one thing that I presume they're going to lean heavily on is like, the Batman's not going to be killing, because I know that's been like a very big, sticking point for DC and fans, stuff like that. They've been complaining about it, like, did Affleck kill or didn't he kill in Batman vs Superman? So that is a big thing. But I think that with this one, it kind of shows that, he's still going to deliver beatdown, like a brutal beatdown, because his restraint is still like, he doesn't know, like, all right, cool, I'm not going to kill you, but, I'll probably put you in hospital with broken bones and put you in oxygen for a week,
Yeah, dude,
and
like, definitely.
That's a thing. So, but yeah, I think that was the one thing that I was a little bit concerned about when I heard about the Batman. I was like, okay, cool, they're obviously emphasizing the detective aspect, but what's going to happen to the action? Because, I mean, ultimately, Batman is a ninja, he's been trained by ninjas.
Right.
And he's like he's one of the best martial artists in the world. You want to see some of them on the screen. You want to see some like, amazing action. Yeah. And I think just in that scene, just a beatdown was just, that convinced me that they are on the right track. And I mean, even his fight with Catwoman, just a brief glimpses of it, like when she's doing the roundhouse kick and he ducks it. And I was like, man, this is looking like it's going to happen.
It set the tone, dude. It really did set the tone. I think like when I watched it initially, I think that was also the point in the trailer where I was like, snap. And when he said I am vengeance, because for some reason I just assumed him to say I am Batman, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's very cool. And what I did today actually was I love watching other people's reactions, and you get these reaction compilations on YouTube, and I went ahead and I watched everyone's compilation reaction to Batman, and you'd think maybe they're going to play the whole trailer for each, They literally just played that scene, how everyone reacted to that scene, and it was all just the same. It was just like, hot damn, like, do yourself a favor. If you want to smile from ear to ear, just watch that video.
Yeah, it is really cool. And I mean, I think what I really appreciated about that line is like, we all know, you know, that like, as you said, that line, you expect him to say, I'm Batman, you know, like that's pretty much, you know, the most iconic thing. But if you look back at the animated series, you know, it was when Kevin Conroy voiced Batman, there was an iconic line that came from the I'm vengeance, I'm the night, I'm Batman. And the fact that this is like I'm vengeance, which is something else, it just kind of shows at the same time, it's like, you know, a really good respect of like the previous material. It kind of shows that, you know, Matt Reeves has obviously, you know, watched the animated series as well. He understands Batman. It's like he understands everything else. It's like, it feels like this is a fan that's making a movie. And
somebody
I think it's very, very important.
This was something that was said on Twitter. Someone said this feels fan made, but not in the quality, rather in the in like what it's delivering. Like, oh, it's almost like it gets us kind of thing.
Yes.
And I did see some conversation about that. It would shock me if this wasn't a movie that wasn't incredibly researched and didn't have the right people on, because how many times, like, you know, have we seen the Batman on screen now, and it's like, with all the controversy about, like, you know, what things did and didn't work, it's like you have ample time to get this right. Like, surely you can't rush this. So I have confidence that they're going to make it work.
I mean, the thing is, I think with Batman as well, the history that we've seen with Warner Brothers, and I mean, I think especially it's true for like the Snyder Cut, is something that we've seen, is that there's been a history of like executive interference in the movies, that, you know, that they want to do certain things, they want to appeal to a lot of different people, and, you know, they start messing with the director's vision. And the one thing that I appreciate, like one of the things I remember reading about when Reeves first joined, you know, the project, is he apparently like walked away like the first time, because he said that he wants creative control. And if you see, he's like one of the producers on the movie as well, like with his producing partner.
Yeah.
And he also like obviously wrote the script. So he's heavily involved in this. But one of the things was that he said, like, you know what, he wants to make a movie that he wants to make. So Warner Brothers needs to like basically, from my understanding, that basically means he's going to get final cuts of the movie, which I think is very important for a director, because especially with superhero projects, it can go wrong very quickly. I mean, like if they start recutting things and they, you know, like, for lack of better words, start marvelizing things, you know, because they obviously want to compete in that. It can screw things up for a director and for a movie. And I think that is the most important thing, is that they've kind of said to him, all right, here are the keys, you know, you go drive the car, you go do what you need to do, you come back with a movie, you give it to us, and we release it. And I think that is the most important thing here, because we don't need to have the studio execs messing with it again. And I think they've shown where they leave it alone. I mean, if you look at all the like current DC movies, I mean, you look at Joker, for example, it's like, that's a director movie. It's like, there's no ways that a DC executive would like, a Warner Brothers executive would look at that and say, oh yeah, this is cool. It's about, you know, comic book characters. Let's, you know, create a rated R movie about it and, you know, release it. It's like, no, there's no way. So like, it's kind of nice to see that. And I think it's, you know, if you kind of say filmmaker driven movies, this is the direction, I agree with them, you know, and I'm all for it. So yeah, I'm just hoping it's really cool. But I mean, now this leads me to the next topic that we're going to be talking about now, is that I've also seen at the same time, whilst it's been overwhelmingly positive. I mean, the trailer was viewed like 7 million times in the first 24 hours. That's just on the Warner Brothers YouTube channel. I mean, I'm not talking about the live stream or all the other people who uploaded it. Or, you know, Twitter views.
IGN, like all the other. Damn.
So I've seen mostly positive. Everybody seems to be on board. But I've also seen some people, you know, they've had a few little complaints. And I mean,
the naysayers.
The naysayers. I mean, you know how it is, you know, as we call them, the blue chicks on Twitter, you know, that always have something to say. But the thing is, one of the complaints I've seen is that, oh no, that this is another dark iteration of Batman. And it's something you touched upon earlier, that, you know, they're like, what, you know, why can't they make a Batman that, you know, what my child can go see, or that, you know, it can be for the whole family. And it's been like a complaint that I've seen. It kind of feels like it's just another dark Batman movie. It's like, you know, it's basically like Nolan introduced the concept. I mean, yes, okay, Tim Burton started it like, you know, it was quite dark, and then they moved on to more family friendly for Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, and then obviously went dark with Nolan, Batman vs Superman, and now the Batman. And I mean, obviously, I think I know your thoughts here, that you said that, you know, Batman needs to be dark, but what do you think about that criticism? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's way off?
Look, I mean, I believe DC and Marvel have always created kid-friendly content. You know, the fact that it's not a blockbuster film is like, well, sorry about that. But I mean, I think it's about which does the core origins of the character lend itself to more. You know, where did the core fandom come from? Where are they lying at the moment? And if there's going to be, you know, series and cartoons and animations going out that are a little more kid focused, that's fine as well. But, you know, honestly, I can't complain about the fact that it's going to be dark. That's just kind of how it is. Sure, it's fair, like, to go ahead and say that about like your kids and stuff, but I'm just going to be selfish here and just be like, well, you're not the target market right now, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I mean, because, you know, a lot of people still seem to have this perception of Batman from the golden age of comics, and, you know, the Batman 66, where it was very campy, it was very goofy villains, you know, the Joker is like putting banana peels in the way and joy buzzers, and, you know, that sort of, you know. And what a lot of people seem to forget is, like, after that show in the 70s, there was like a massive dip, you know, in terms of interest in Batman. Like, no one was interested in the character because there was nothing really separating him at the end of the day from the likes of everyone else out there, because that was the tone of all the comics. I mean, Superman, Green Lantern, Flash, they all had, like, you know, as you call it, the rogue of the week. And, you know, they all had their sidekicks, and, you know, that was it. You know, like, you kind of, you know, battle, and it kind of got a bit tired, you know, towards the audience wasn't really receiving it so well. And then obviously in the 80s, you know, when Frank Miller, you know, dropped, you know, The Dark Knight Returns in year one, and he wrote all those, Batman suddenly got darker, and it rejuvenated the character. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think it was a really good direction at the same time, because it gave it something else. And yeah, Gotham is a really, you know, terrible place if you think about it. I mean, this place has got, like, you know, villains running around, it's corrupt.
So why do people live there?
Exactly. I mean, it's like, doesn't make sense. Like, no one ever moves, and it's like, what is there?
Just like, peace out to Metropolis, looks chill there.
Exactly. But like, that's what I found separated him from Superman, in that sense, that, you know, Superman was the light and Batman was the dark. But at the end of the day, they both have the same mission. You know, they want to bring hope to the world. You know, obviously they got different methods. And I thought that was the really cool thing that, you know, they did with Batman, is they made it a bit darker. And yes, I mean, obviously it influenced Tim Burton, and we saw in the comics as well, it started influencing the comics, it got darker. And I think we've seen, you know, the kid-friendly versions. I mean, you look at Batman Forever and you look at Batman and Robin, and I don't think that they connected as well with the audience like everything else did. Yeah. And, you know, even nowadays, if you look at some of the best Batman stories, I mean, I'm going to be talking about, you know, Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's, you know, New 52 Batman.
Yeah.
You know, the death of the family and, you know, the Court of Owls, it's always been darker stories.
Yeah.
And as you say, I mean, there is kid-friendly material out there. I mean, there's like Batman, the Brave and the Bold, you know, there is, I mean, there was even the Justice League action cartoons. And I do believe that there will be, you know, probably more kid-friendly Batman properties. And for me, I think it's a bit trite, actually, to be honest, you know, to have a complaint like that, because there are enough kid-friendly movies out there. I mean, it's like, you can't have superhero movies all looking the same and feeling the same.
Yeah, dude. And the thing is, like, you know, you can't make everyone happy. And if you if you do that, you just know it's going to be terrible if you try and do that. I think it's like, you kind of pick a direction and you stick with it and you stick to your guns, and that's kind of how it is. If you try and satisfy everyone, I think you end up making a weird hodgepodge of stuff. Everyone's always got a complaint about something. I've never seen a movie received with 100%. There's always someone somewhere. Even the most famous movies, like, no, this is overrated, or this is this or this is that. And to be honest, you know, I think if the masses are feeling it well, and you know where you're going with it, it's okay. It's, you know, I'm not too...
No, I agree. I mean, it's 100%. And I mean, the thing is, we are living in like the golden age of like comic book movies and TV shows at the moment. I mean, it is like happening. I think, you know, it's like everywhere you look, it's like a new comic book property. But at the same time, as you say, you know, you don't want everything to be the same, because that's how you start getting fatigued, you know, and everything starts feeling the same, it starts sounding the same, it's got the same emotional beats, the same, you know, cookie cutter characters. And I mean, like, for example, the Batman, one of the things that excited me the most about the trailer is that it, you know, it's got a grungy vibe. And I mean, it's something which I even wrote an article for Fortress this week about it. And it feels a little bit like The Crow from like 94, you know, grungy and sort of like, you know, a bit of gothic noir sort of feeling going to it. And it feels different. It feels different from everything else that's out at the moment. And I've been craving that, to be honest. I mean, I love all the stuff. I mean, I love the MCU, I love DC, but I just want something that feels different. Something that when I go into the cinema, I'm like, wow, I'm getting something original, and I'm not just getting something that sets up, you know, Avengers 21. sort of thing. It's like, I want something that I can just sit back and say, hey, this looks cool. This has got a good story. It's got a good tone, and, just sit back and enjoy it. And yeah, I mean, as you said, I don't think everyone will ever appreciate a movie or like a movie. But yeah, I think that as long as there are like other, things for kids out there, as we say, I mean, and I think DC is doing a good job in terms of the likes of Shazam. I mean, I think that is a very family-friendly sort of franchise, and it's great as well. Yeah, exactly.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. And I think there's a lot of stuff coming out that, will appeal to kids as well. And I mean, especially, DC animated movies is a lot. The ones that aren't rated R, I mean, there are quite a few of them. But there's like some cool stuff out there. And I think it's also about, I think people need to stop expecting to be spoon-fed content and start looking for content themselves. And that's my biggest complaint, is that if you're going to complain about, oh, there's not enough of this, like, dude, there's literally a whole bunch of content out there that's tailored for you. But the problem is, it can't be everything that's in front of your eyes is for you.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's just, it's how it is. Like, at this point, I don't even have the energy to try and validate this to someone, online. For the most part, I just kind of sit there and go, okay, well, is what it is. But I mean, you're right. How many gazillions of superhero kid shows are there, and and lighthearted things, and it all exists. There's so much media out there for everyone. We're spoiled for choice, and yet we still have complaints. It's kind of shocking.
No, it's definitely. I mean, there's so much going out there. But I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, I mean, we also want to know what our viewers think. So I'm going to use the opportunity to say thank you, Lois, for coming onto the podcast and chatting to us about the Batman.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. And I mean, obviously now it's down to you guys. You guys got to tell us, what did you think of the Batman? Was it cool? Was it not? Are you looking forward to it? Do you wish it was something else? Let us know in the comments below.
Should the beatdown have been longer?
Yes, that's another good one. Yes, beatdown's always long. Yes, please, first commenter, please put that there. So obviously like the video and subscribe to the channel and let us know what you think. Thanks a lot, guys.